The other thing that you're going to need is a Dremel with a sanding disc, and preferably a cutting disc, possibly a cutting disc, but definitely a sanding disc. If you have some kind of a sanding belt tool, that would work really good. My WorkSharp is actually a super versatile Kydex tool. You can actually use it to cut and create nice contours and stuff. I've never seen anybody use it the way I use it. You know, normally it's just a knife sharpener, but it's a great tool for cutting and for just contouring Kydex. So, yep, those are the other items you'll need. First thing you need to know about Kydex is there's a smooth side, smooth, shiny side, and then there's a dull, rough side. So the dull, rough side is the outside of the sheath, and the smooth side is where what touches your blade, and it's smooth just so it doesn't wear down your edges, and it's easy to retrieve it and insert the blade. So yeah, smooth side is the side your blade's gonna be touching. So the way I work Kydex is completely different than anybody else that I've seen. So for example, if you watch other videos, if you're doing a sheath like this, they would say you would need 2 pieces of Kydex, and then you would just put that blade in there and then just sandwich the 2 pieces. So my Mongol way of doing Kydex is efficiency and practicality. Okay, so why waste 2 pieces when 1 piece is enough? Yeah, it's not going to be pretty, but it's functional. So we're going to make this particular sheath. Okay, so it's got a heavy duty front end and it's got a thumb lock. Okay, so you see it snap in, you hear it snap in, it's not coming out nowhere, it's not coming out. Okay, thumb lock, one-handed. Everything I do is hyper efficient, one-handed. Everything's one-handed. Okay, so we're going to just use 1 piece of Kydex because Kydex is expensive and there's so many other things we can use it for. And so first things first, this is also different than what I've seen anybody else do. I don't use paper pattern anymore because I just do it by feel now, but I want you guys to be successful and make this real easy for you. So I'm going to go through it with you. So you get a piece of paper or cardboard, just anything that you can fold and make a pattern, and you want it just the same size as your Kydex, and then you place your blade in there. So this allows you to figure out where to put the blade to get the proper amount of material to work with. So we know we're going to use just 1 piece, so we got to make sure if we fold it, we got enough Kydex to cover the blade in the way that we want. And so I always like the Kydex to go over into the handle at least by like a 1/2 inch. So it just depends on your preference, but I like it to go from the blade into the handle just a little bit. Some people might like it just to be on the blade, but this is how I like it, and so this is how I'm going to show you. So you can modify it by what your preference might be. Okay, so now this is the same size as the Kydex. I know I have enough material up here to do the thumb lock, and I know that I want this gut hook to be covered by the Kydex, to be protected. I don't want that to catch on anything or get worn down by anything it touches. So that's going to be covered. So I want the blade as well as the gut hook blade up here to be covered. And so what I did is just made a line straight down, so I know that I need this much to go over. So I'm gonna, because you see there's not a lot of material up here, right? So there's not going to be enough material here, but if I use the material from down here and I fold it over just like I did that, and then I got enough material from the bottom half of this Kydex to cover this top portion. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. So everything's about efficiency and practicality as far as using the materials at hand. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Okay, and so we got that, and then you want to figure out where you want to fold it. So I folded a crease there so I know where it's going to fold. Okay, and so I'm starting on the glossy side, the blade side of the Kydex, right? Okay, so that's going to be your fold line. So now you know where roughly to fold that blade. So you need to get a pencil and just draw that line So you know where it's going to be, where it's going to go. Okay. Okay, so you got your line right there. Okay, so I'm just going to put yeah, I'm just going to put top. So I know that's the top, the bottom, right? So that's bottom, top, bottom. So now the other part you don't see other people that work with Kydex covering is Kydex is best worked as far as like all the cutouts and everything. It's best to cut out as much as you can on the unheated brand new piece of Kydex, right? Versus it being folded. So what I'm saying is, okay, so like this cutout, this contour, this whole section, it's better to just lay it out as a flat piece and then cut the cutouts and the contours while it's in this form, and then when you fold it over, and then all you gotta do is just worry about just compressing the whole sheath, and you're done with the form. Versus not doing that, and then you would basically do the form, and it's just gonna be a nicely formed piece of Kydex around with the silhouette of your with a printout of your blade, right? But now you got to figure out how to cut that little cutout without cutting the other side of the Kydex, right? So I hope that makes sense. So you want to work all the contours and little details while it's in this form, because it's more accessible as far as getting to that particular part of the sheath than if it was already folded. So if it was already folded like this, and let's say this would be like completely folded flat, right? And then you got the imprint and your blade goes in there. And then you'd have to like figure out, you'd have to take your Dremel or something that's not gonna cut here. It's just gonna cut this piece. And then you gotta cut that out and cut that out without touching this piece. So it just complicates the process. So I'm showing you the Mongol way, the efficient way. Okay, so that's what we're doing. Okay, so now you got that, and then you want okay. So now you want to fold this over roughly to where you want this to cover the blade, right? So you put it into its little traced area. You fold it where you had it marked to be folded. And then now you fold this over to figure out where you want to cut that Kydex and work the Kydex, right? So I'm wanting yeah, like I said, I don't work with this paper thing anymore, but I think it'll make it easier for you guys. So I'm like all thumbs with this. Yeah, so I want it like this. So I want it to definitely cover there, not go over this area, okay? And I want enough material back here to put the retaining screw, one of the screws back here, right? So this is what we're doing. So this is what we're trying to work with, right? Okay, so that's gonna be like that. Okay. So now that we got that shape that we want, we're going to cut this off. Okay, where I put my scissor? Okay, scissor. Yeah, my ADHD is really playing tricks with me. So if I didn't have my head attached to my shoulders, I wouldn't know where it was. Okay, wait. Am I cutting the right angle? Or am I messing it up? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I cut this off. Okay. All right, so take this blade, get rid of that. All right. Okay. Okay, so now, okay, so see, so this is why this is really helpful. Okay, so okay, so this is good, but what did I just do? I cut off this fold over piece. So imagine if that piece of paper was the Kydex, I would have been kind of SOL as far as that particular design. Okay, so let me get the paper. Okay. So now I know. So let's say this is where it was, right? Okay, so now I know that I need to cut. Yeah, so I want to stop the cut right here. Okay. So roughly like that. So that's how I should have cut it. So once again, that's why this paper pattern thing is a lifesaver. Because once you cut the Kydex off, you can't glue it back on. There's no glue that works well with Kydex because it's a plastic that is self-lubricating, so it's always going to have it's going to exude a lubrication, and glues just don't really work well on it. I've tried all different solvents and glues, and they're just not real strong. So in any case, yeah. So now I know it's supposed to be like this. Okay. So I like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and radius this little area just because I like the look of it. So I'm just making a little radius right here. So some of you might want to like make it kind of a little cooler looking, right? You might want to like go like this, or make whatever kind of pattern you want here. But instead of just being a straight angle, I just want kind of a little radius because I just like how that lip forms right there against that rounded radius. So entirely up to you, but that's what we're doing here. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is, so this is your piece. You got the top and bottom written down there. Okay, so puzzles, I hate puzzles. Okay, so here we go. All right, you line up your paper, make sure it matches up on all the angles. Okay. So now you know this is where you stop, right? So you need to trace that out. Okay. So this is where you would cut. And I always kind of cut a little more material. I mean, leave more material in because you can always trim it if you need to, versus, you know, cutting too much material off. Right. So here's what's going to be cut out. So it's going to be this little section right here. Okay. And then while I'm cutting it, I'm going to radius this area right here. So, yep, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I was going to use my little cutoff wheel, but I know a lot of you guys might not have that, so I'm just going to use a blade. So 0.080 Kydex is probably like the thickest you want to go to just use a blade to cut it. I mean, it's easier if you have some kind of cutting wheel, but you can just do it with a razor blade. You can cut pretty thick stuff a Kydex with razor blade actually, but yeah. So I'm just going to cut the pattern out. Yeah, just be kind of careful, because you know, if you slip and then you cut a groove or you cut a line, that's kind of compromised. You kind of compromise the strength of that. So don't, if you can, don't be like me, and just use like some kind of a barrier, straight edge or something. But I'm impatient, so I just always take these kind of risks that I shouldn't. So just yeah, you just score it. So you're just scoring it. So you don't want to score any area that you're not going to break off, because like I said, once you score that area, it's weakened that area. Okay, so let's see if I don't mess up here. And it's these corners that are always real hard. Okay, so you score it. Okay, so it's scored. So just bend it. Okay. Okay, so you bend it. Okay, so now you got a nice radiused area, right? Okay, so now you got the primary shape. Okay, so let's get rid of this. So now you got this. Okay, so now you kind of see how it's all going to work. And then you're going to this is your, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but this is the line you drew for the fold. And then your blade's going to go right there. Okay, and then this is just going to fold over. So yep, that's the tedious part. So now what I normally do right now at this point is I just go ahead and round these edges. So yeah, let's go over here and I'll show you. Okay, so you can use just a Dremel, or you can use a sanding belt tool, your work sharp, or just any kind of sanding belt. But you can just use a Dremel with the sanding wheel on it. Okay, so let's see here. And Kydex sands real quick, so just be aware. Don't take too much material off. So I'm just rounding off all the sharp edges, because like I said, everything is easier to form when it's still in a perfectly new, flat condition. Once it's folded and stuff, it's hard to get into these areas. Okay, all these are rounded off, so they're not going to be poking at me or anything, and they look decent enough, right? So now we're ready to put it in the oven. Okay, so that's one thing other Kydex workers don't tell you is you want the blade to be like warm or hot, not like in the oven hot, but just like hot, like if it was just out in the sun. Okay, so if you have a cold blade, and then you put this on there and you're going to do the form, it's gonna cool this so quickly that you only have a few seconds, and then it's just gonna basically like freeze up before it's formed. So it was actually upsetting that people don't tell you that, but yeah, that's gonna be a key piece of advice for your sanity. Okay, so put this blade somewhere where it stays warm, or you can just warm it up with the heat gun. And like I said, it doesn't have to be blazing hot, it just needs to be warm. I like it to be like hot to the touch, but I can still pick it up. But if it's at least warm, you'll be fine. Okay, so all right, so what you want to do is, you know, don't tell your wife or anything, but preheat your oven to 300 degrees. Okay, and you want to let me just show you my greasy kitchen real quick here. Let's go here. Watch out, beastie. There's the my greasy oven. Yeah, so pardon my messy ways here. It's been busy. Okay, been busy making videos for you guys. Okay, so Okay, so I just used an old cookie pan or whatever pan. Okay, so that's going to fit in there, okay? Yeah, and that pan's kind of greasy, so that's why I got wax paper in there. But basically you can just, yeah, you just need something that you'll be able to grab out of the oven once this is ready, okay? So, yeah, you want it 300 degrees. And, yeah, once it reaches 300 degrees, it's going to be real pliable, and you'll see. So, yeah, just put it on broil, or bake, I mean, no, not broil. Just put it on bake. 300 degrees, and then you stick it in there, okay, for just a few minutes, and you'll see it like on this. You see how this doesn't fit real good right now? So it'll be a visual indicator when I see that this thing just kind of droops down and it's just right in the pan. And so you just basically want to put it into something where you can grab the whole thing out of there, okay? So yeah, that's what you want. And before we do that, I'm going to show you something you want to do real quick as well. So let's go back out here. Preheating the oven at 300 degrees, all right? So let's say that. And then so what you want to do is you also kind of want to just trace this blade onto the Kydex now. Okay, so we're still on the shiny side. So this will save you some time as well. So, because you know the blade's not going to be like, you're not going to line up the top edge or anything. So you need to like, you want to just kind of trace the pattern of the knife so you kind of have a general idea where to place it. So you're not, because the first time you work with Kydex, you kind of have a tendency to panic because you're like, I got to get this going, right? So, yeah, so you're gonna figure out where everything's supposed to go. You know, make sure you got the amount of materials you need for the thumb lock, and then enough to cover where you want to cover down here. Okay, so once you think you got all that figured out, okay, so I think I want it like that. Maybe like that. Okay. Okay, so okay, so you kind of just see just kind of a rough outline. Just give you a general idea. Okay, so once we're waiting for the oven and everything, right? So now you got to set up your process. You got to set up your working area. So now I'm going to use this as one of the hard surfaces. So I'm going to put that there. And I'm not putting it like this. I'm putting it like this because of the design of this particular table, right? So I'll show you. So you got that. And let's say you got the Kydex. You put it on there. It's the hot Kydex. Now you put the blade on there, right? So you got to visualize. You got to like kind of have to practice this real quick, so you don't freak out, right? And then you're gonna just place that on there, right? And so now you need to make sure your clamping surface is accessible, right? And it's going to be 2 even places. So I kind of want to be as centered to the Kydex and to the blade as possible. So I put this on the corner because this is the only way I can get center here, right? So if you have a big vise, that can help too. See, so now I know, like, from here it doesn't reach, right? So I can barely reach that, so I just need to rotate this over. And now I'm there. I got a lot of leverage now. Okay, so you need to make sure you get this figured out before you got the heated piece of Kydex. Okay, so you need to pre-practice. So I kind of want a little bit more centered as far as the clamping force on this side. So I just move that over, And then now it looks good. Like now the clamping pressure is kind of going to be even. So from the center of the Kydex, okay? So that looks good. That should work. So I hope you understand. So earlier, when this was over here, and if I do like this, the clamping force is going to be over here, biased over here. So I want it centered. And so that's what I did earlier, where you saw me move it over so I can get the clamping force centered to the workpiece. Okay, so I want it centered. So this works right there, right? So you want everything centered, just like that. So you want your clamps centered, okay? So I need to figure out why that popped out. Okay, so that's why you do this. So it's on a piece of metal there. Okay, now this is going to be better. So, and I check all my clamping surfaces, make sure there's not a spot where it's just going to slip like it did earlier.